Is building watches. Building watches, so we built that watch, $100.
Really?
Yeah. So he goes, I want to make your watch like you want. I said, I'll tell you what, I said, I'll pay for it. So then, so we got all the parts.
It keeps the time and everything?
Yeah, it's got all the parts inside, it's self-done, gets the dial, puts them on.
Nice looking piece there too. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City of Kingston Planning Board meeting. Today is October 21st at 6:03 p.m. My name is Suzanne Cahill. I'm the Planning Director for the City of Kingston. I just have a few quick announcements before we start the meeting. I just ask that everybody please silence your cell phones so that they do not disturb the meeting. If you have any conversations that do not involve the planning board, we just ask that you please take them outside of the room. Council chambers are available, or there's another conference room on the other side of the council chambers if you want some more privacy. Bathrooms are also outside through the council chambers. Men's would be to the left, women's to the right. If we do have an emergency, we do ask that you do not use the elevator, please use the stairs. If you need assistance, just ask us and we will help you. I want everybody to know that we are recording this meeting and it is also being live streamed to the general public so that you're aware of that. With that, I am going to turn the meeting over to Chairman Platt to introduce board members and start the meeting.
Thank you, Suzanne. We'll start with introductions. Board members, my name is Wayne Platt. We also have Charles Palaco, Robert Jacobson, Matt Gillis, Vince Archer, Sage Newkirk, and Andrew Harris. We've already met Planning Director Suzanne Cahill. We also have Kyla Dede, who's the Assistant Planner. Matthew Jankowski is the Assistant Corporation Counsel, and Alderman Sarah Paskey is the Common Council Liaison for the Planning Board. Item number 1 on the agenda is the adoption of the September 16th, 2024 Planning Board meeting minutes and transcript. Anybody have any questions on it? Additions, deletions? Okay, at this time, I'll make a motion that we adopt the September 16th, 2024 Planning Board meeting minutes. Do I have a second? Second by Chuck Palaco. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. We're going to jump ahead quick to item number 6. It's under, that's under public hearing still, right? Yeah.
Yes.
It is 241-267 rear Albany Avenue, special permit renewal / amendment for a radio transmission tower and supporting infrastructure. Oh, well, the applicant representative has some other business to attend to, so we would afford him time to appear earlier in the schedule. So anyway, special permit renewal amendment for the radio transmission tower and supporting infrastructure. Section block and lot is 48.317-1-2, seeker determination, transect zone T2C. It's in Ward 2. Radio Kingston Corporation is the applicant owner. Is anybody besides the applicant owner wishing to speak on item number 6? Okay, we're going to ask the representative to come up.
Scotty,
Hey,
you're on.
I was looking for you.
oh, you're here for Radio Kingston too? Okay.
Yes, we are.
Okay,
We were waiting for you outside.
all right, we're ready to go.
Okay.
Great, yeah, welcome.
Short on chairs, it seems.
Okay.
Is there-
I'll put Scotty up there.
I broadcast standing up anyways.
All right,
Moving swiftly?
yeah, Scott Dutton is here. Can you introduce your team here?
Sure. Jimmy Buff and Cal Capishon.
Executive Director,
Radio.
Director of Technical Operations.
Okay. And Michael Murray on here as well. Okay. All right, so this is the WKNY tower in the lowlands. Any changes? Because we have some storage containers down there we're going to discuss.
Correct.
Okay. Also a solar array, so nothing's changed with anything there. So you
So
want to come?
just with the tower, this is for the renewal of the tower. Is there any other new entities that have co-located on the tower, or is it just,
Refer to. No.
okay, thank you.
All right, you want to speak to the storage containers?
Yes, so when they came forward, the renewal, we recognized that there were two storage container units on the site. Scott and I met with the owners and some other city reps, and we discussed that storage containers aren't necessarily allowed anywhere within the city of Kingston under the new form-based code. Scott presented a proposal to tie the two containers together utilizing a roof system, which would be on a steel frame. It would be a metal roof on a steel frame, allowing for, wouldn't be a fully enclosed, but it would allow for pass-through, but allow for parking of vehicles that are affiliated with the radio tower business, okay? So that said, we have had a couple of meetings. The detail of the structure is in your staff notes. There's no additional lighting or any other features to be added. What are the storage containers actually used for? Can you just, what are they storing? What are the containers storing? What do you use them for?
So we carry a lot of redundant materials and parts for everything from generators to the RF materials that are used for broadcast operations. But also we have a lot of additional equipment that's down there for the community event production services we provide to the community. So it's a base of operations, mostly equipment, redundant parts, variety of things we just use in our operations.
Okay. So one of the things, obviously, I think what we would recommend is that this is, a radio transmission station. It provides a certain public service. We would recommend that the board authorize the special permit renewal conditionally with the containers and the roof structure being worked out between building safety and corporation counsel's office. They've presented case law and an argument to us and corporation counsel. I believe that's under review right now. And so they're going to work that out, and whether or not they will ultimately be required to obtain a variance for the containers, or if there's another option available to them, such as maybe siding the sides of the building and basically encompassing those units within the structure itself might be another option. But those will be discussed with Building Safety and Corporation Council.
But the structure itself meets code, and that's what we're doing.
Otherwise, yes.
And that sounds reasonable, I think. Does the rest of the board agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we'll work that out with building safety and court counsel with the applicants, so that's good. What was the last term with this? What was the last period?
Well, with renewals, what we're trying to do with special permits is to renew them so that they would come due in the month of August, when this board does not meet. As you're aware, under the new form-based code, all special permit renewals that have absolutely no changes affiliated with them, and they're just strict renewals, straight renewals, are an administrative function through our office. We still will have public hearings, but we would do it during the 1 month when this board does not meet. So you could make it, I would make it maybe a year and whatever it takes to get to August of 26.
I'm fine with all this.
Okay. Everybody else is good with August the 26th to come back? And then
Is this roof going to cover those shipping containers, or so you won't see them from the street?
You don't see anything now. This is way down behind, actually, you go down behind the
Temple.
synagogue on Albany Avenue. They pass through, they have an easement over their property through the parking lot, and then it goes down behind that in the lowlands area.
So you won't see them from the sky.
Okay, any other questions from the board? All right, under seeker, this is a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required at this time. You have anything else for?
I know.
Okay. Okay.
You got everything else.
All right. Okay, so at this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 6 for a period to August of 2026, with board policy 6 and conditional approval. Applicants will resolve the shipping container issues with court counsel and building safety division. That is a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Matt Gillis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks for getting me, like, coming here first. Thank you very much.
Okay, still under public hearings, back to item number 2. 240 Foxwell Avenue is a special permit renewal to operate an eating/drinking establishment with alcohol as a controlled substance. Section block of lot is 48.82-3-74. Secret determination, Transect Zone T4N-0, Ward 6. Anton Kinlock is the applicant. West Shore Trestle LLC is the owner. Anybody wishing to speak on item number 2? Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Anthony Kinlock, I'm the owner.
Okay.
My landlord, West Shore Trust, is not here to represent. but-
Okay. So all we're doing tonight is the public hearing, because this is going to come back to the August board, right? That we're talking about just the last applicant.
Right.
So really, there's nothing to discuss for you tonight. I'm glad you showed. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So do we have to establish a,
No action needed.
Okay.
We just basically, again, because this is an administrative action and we needed to schedule a public hearing, we just felt that it would be simpler if we held one evening with one hearing and took care of it. So there's no comment. So you will be hearing from us administratively.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
okay, thank you. I don't even know the verbiage to conclude item number 2. Can we move on to item
No
number 3?
action needed.
No action needed, okay. First time, so, all right, item number 3 is 36 St. James Street. Special permit renewal to operate an eating/drinking establishment with alcohol as a controlled substance. Section block of lot is 56.92-4-13. Seeker determination, Transect Zone T4N-0, Ward 4. Samuel Shapiro is the applicant, 36 St. James Street LLC is the owner. Anybody wishing to speak on item number 3? Okay, nobody is appearing for that. So as with item number 2, this is just administrative and no action taken by the board. Item number 4. 130-134, 136, and 140 Spring Street. Lot line revision of the lands of John DeForest and Melissa Stella DeForest. Section block and lot is 56.42-13-14, 13 and 12. Seeker determination, Transect Zone T4N, Ward 9, John DeForest and Melissa Stella DeForest are the applicant owners. Hello there.
How's everybody tonight?
Good.
A short introduction, Michael Bateri, licensed land surveyor, board of directors, Mid Hudson Valley Surveying, and so on. I am representing John and Melissa regarding a lot line revision, as you mentioned, 130 through 140 Spring Street. My clients own 3 consecutive lots, tax lot 12, 13, and 14. The purpose of this is to delete lot 13, which is the interior lot, and split it in half, awarding half of lot 13 to lot 12 and half of lot 13 to lot 14. Keep in mind, there's a typo here. This should be 14, so we're speaking of 12, 13, and 14. Half of this lot will be given to lot 14. Half of this lot will be given to lot 12, creating a 3-lot to 2-lot lot line revision, creating more of a available building lot for 14 and adding 17 feet of land to the structure lot, which is lot 12.
Mike, maybe you can just speak a little bit to the slope of this property. This is on the end of Spring Street, which is one way. It's a very narrow roadway. But the top part along Spring is really the only developable portion of these properties, because as you can see, there's a dashed line pretty much halfway through, and at that point, it pretty much takes a steep, I don't know what the incline would be, but it goes downhill pretty quickly.
Correct. Yeah, and so it's not steep to the point of where it's not developable, but it's steep to the point of where, material would be brought in if you were to develop from this point down. As long as we can meet the zoning requirements for the T4N within this area here, when the time comes and a site plan will be prepared and so on, if this lot is to be developed. But there's definitely a developable area, and adding this portion here, this 17-foot to lot 14, adds further developable area. And that is the purpose of this lot line revision.
Okay.
Is the intent for the owners to maintain ownership and control, or is it the intent to sell it off?
I believe the intent is to sell both
Okay.
this and the structure lot.
Okay, oh.
Any questions? Okay. Your secret's a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. That's okay.
That's pretty good.
All right, so at this time, we'll make a motion that we approve item number 4 with board policy 6, approve as presented. 5 paper copies, 1 Mylar, to be signed by owner before the planning board chairman signs. Written descriptions of new parcels and, okay, so there we go. County clerk, assistant clerk, right?
Clear.
Yeah. All right.
And Kyla, I sent you the updated legal descriptions. I know this has been a little while. I believe I sent it. If not, I'll resend it, but I'm pretty sure I prepared them already. So we should be all set on that. I'm going to revise that where the tax map number 13 on actually what is lot 14. But otherwise we should be good.
You gotta put that on the
So just for clarification and recording purposes, this is 12. This entire parcel here is lot 13. This lot is being split in half, and this is lot 14. Half of 13 goes to 14, half of 13 goes to 12.
What's that equal?
I'll be down alone.
Okay, with parcel number revised to read 14.
Well, the assessor's gonna give it all new.
Yeah.
So
We gotta make it nice and legal here. That is a motion.
Second.
Robert Jacobson with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Barry?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mike,
Yes.
what time did I tell you to have stuff in it?
I may be doing this on my own, but we'll.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, you might want to step out and tell them we're moving very quickly.
I will do that, actually.
For another one?
Yes, I will.
Later on, the booster report.
Later on.
Okay, item number 5, 98 DeWitt Street, subdivision of the lands of Arthur DeGraff Jr. Section block and lot is 56.49-3-10.110. Secret determination, transect zone T3N, Ward 9, Arthur DeGraff Jr. is the applicant owner. Anybody besides the applicant owner wishing to speak on item number 5?
Yes, hi.
Okay, well, you're, anybody else, we're gonna have you sit down. right here.
Oh, I get to sit.
Because it's a
I'm in
public
hot
hearing,
seat, huh?
because it's a public hearing, we have, anybody else can weigh in if they want to, so. All right, so state your name for the record,
My
please.
name is Valerie Tolley. I'm Arthur DeGraff Jr.'s sister. Our plan is to subdivide the property back out, and then I will purchase it from my brother and eventually have a house for him.
Okay,
Hopefully.
now I was reminded that you appeared here at one time to combine.
My father did.
Okay. So now we're going back. to-
Now we're going back to the original.
Okay.
Don't ask.
That's okay, this happens, these things
I,
happen, you know?
Just so that you are aware, under the new form-based code, should you choose not to do your construction and build on this, under the new code won't allow the two to be combined back into a single parcel again.
Okay.
Just so you're aware of that.
Fine.
All right. It has maximum widths now, so
Okay.
where it never did before, so now it would exceed that.
Okay.
Any questions from the board?
No.
No? They should do east and the west. East, west, no? Okay. Under, is this an unlisted item? Okay. Wow. Well, this one is gonna take two. All right, under seeker, this is an unlisted action. I have before me a short environmental assessment form that staff has indicated is in order. This time, I'll make a motion that we approve it. Got a second on that? Second by Chuck Palaco. All in favor, Wayne Platt is a yes. Charles Palaco.
Yes.
Robert Jacobson.
Yes.
Matt Gillis.
Yes.
Vince Archer.
Yes.
Eric Adopted.
Thank you.
Okay, standing by for.
So we actually need a new subdivision map. This is the old map that was used when they combined the parcels. But we allowed them to obviously use this for purposes of presentation. So we will require the new subdivision map showing the subdivision as it's being presented. The resultant parcel descriptions will have to be provided to us. So that's the new description of the lot without the piece that's going to be taken, given to you, and then a description of that parcel. Your surveyor will do that. We'll need 1 Mylar and 5 paper copies. All will have to be signed by the owner before they come in for the chairman's signature, and then you will have to file with the Ulster County Clerk for it to become legal, and you'll get all this. in a letter.
Awesome.
Okay?
As I said, put the application in, I wasn't the brightest crayon in the box.
That's what board policy says.
Yes, all of the items that Sue just mentioned, she just included board policy 6. I'm going to encompass all that into a motion to approve item number 5. Do you want a second on that? Second by Robert Jacobson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, item number 7, we're the old business?
Yeah.
Yeah, 436 Broadway, site plan to convert a single-family residence with ground floor commercial to a 5-family residence with a major waiver for, wait, I'm not reading that.
That's the way it was advertised, but we'll discuss that.
Okay. Major waiver for exterior rear entrance to the upper residential units. Section block and lot is 56.26-6-36, secret determination, transect zone T5MS, Ward 9. Ron Faya is the applicant, 10th Street Enterprises LLC is the owner. Mr. Steinmeier is here, how are you?
Not too bad, yourself?
Good. So we're pulling the major waiver request out, right? That's the,
Well, so we did submit an interim set of plans that showed 2 of the ground floor entrances from the front, but the second floor units were still from the rear, which still required a major waiver. So I thought it was a compromise. But I don't know what the policy is on
Well,
major
right.
major waivers.
There was, and then there was a new set of drawings that we received on Friday.
Right, then we met with Sue and we kind of rehashed the whole thing.
so you have an entrance now from Broadway and an entrance from Flannery Lane coming in, right? So that really
Correct,
takes you out of the major waiver.
right, but it's a significant burden to the client. I mean, it's $100,000 addition for stairs, basically.
I understand that, but you know, we have that, a new code in Kingston and, I get it.
understand that.
I get it, you know,
But the code has major waivers built into it, doesn't it?
is your client still looking to pursue the major waiver request?
I just would like to have a discussion on it, I guess.
And he
So-
actually should be here. I told him 6:30, so because I.
Yeah, I'm sure he's on-
expected we were
sure he's on
running
his way.
this, You know, going this quickly.
Huh?
Can you just major waivers for a second floor just from the rear?
No, the new code, first of all, the new code, when you, convert, like this is a full conversion of a building, adding new residential units. This also involves the demolition of the detached garage and new construction of a garage in the rear. So under the code, residential units are required to have direct access from the street. So it can't be from a rear where, you know, in the old code, this would have been acceptable. But under the new code, under the form-based code, it's meant to create, walkable, pedestrian type streetscapes. And that is where the frontages are looked at. And the building type specifically says that the frontage will be from a street. Now Flannery is a street, so that's why they can use the side street as one of their access points. We talked about, because there's gonna be a pretty extensive gut internally in this building, within the building, we talked about, using Broadway as the sole entry and having the exterior stairs be just secondary. But that is not going to be possible without shrinking and maybe redesigning the interior layout. And possibly, like I said, maybe either losing a unit, going from 5 down to 4, or, reducing the size of the units and the second floor and possibly the first floor slightly. To allow for an internal staircase using the front entry that would have to be wrapped around. It's an old staircase. It's steep, it's narrow, and at the top, you would not have the room available for the necessary landing. and turning area up top. So then that's why we came up with this as an alternative solution to avoid having to go, through a waiver. Waivers are effectively variances, and, with new construction, theoretically, waivers, they have to really be needed. You have to demonstrate a real hardship as to why. They have the room, in the back, to build this, and so this is, I would recommend the waiver.
Flannery is the city's driveway.
Flannery is the street that runs in front of City Hall, and it is a city street.
Is it the curve or is it going in front of the water department?
It's the curve, runs
Curve.
the U, yep.
So the other hardship that this adds is, because of that addition that bumps out the back, it actually conflicts on the driveway, so there's a section of that rock cut. There's a very large outcrop there that has to be hammered out, a portion of it will have to be hammered out in order to get the driveway to work, so. It's a.
I guess my
100
argument there would be that parking is not technically required. That's an addition, that you're providing, and I think it's an amenity. I think it's a great amenity to provide, when you have a multifamily. There's a driveway there now.
It's basically just to preserve the driveway that's there now. Get to that outbuilding.
When you talk about the $100,000 as a figure, what does that encompass?
It's new foundations. I mean, it's an addition, two-story addition that basically houses a stair and hallways to get to the doors to each unit. But it's fully enclosed, windows, heat. The building has to be sprinklered, so the staircase has to be sprinklered.
And I assume you did drawings or designs to try to have everything come from the front and that just.
Yeah, that's just not enough, there's not enough room in the building. So we would either lose a unit, or two of the upstairs units would be these really tiny studios. And that's not really the units that we're trying to make. We're trying to get them all to be at a minimum one-bedroom units. So they're a little bit spacious. So
I don't know.
So you're gonna cut run because the driveway's gotta get shifted over?
yeah,
That's because of the enclosed staircase. Does the rock outcropping interfere with where that stair tower is proposed too? Is that?
no,
No.
no.
And is the driveway in that photo larger than what's there now?
No, it's pretty much the same thing that's there now. It's just shifted over by about 3 to 4 feet. And that 3 to 4 feet is the rock that we're gonna have to hammer out to get that to work. What's that?
They can hammer out the rock.
They can, it's expensive. A rock hammer is probably $2,000 a day, and you're gonna be sitting there for a week.
And reducing the number of units is not an option for your client? I mean, I'm just throwing this out here, this is.
Reducing the number of units doesn't really solve the problem. You still need access to the second floor. I mean, we could probably get an interior stair and end up with 1 unit on the second floor, so that you end up with 4 units instead of 5 units, yeah.
So you still need that stair tower out back with?
No, you would not. You could get, the entire second floor would be 1 unit. Instead of 2 one-bedroom units. But it's a commercial, once you're more than 2 family, it's a commercial building. the stair requirements in the commercial code are much more spacious. They take up a lot more space than a residential stair.
I mean, even before the new code came in, we would, on different projects that would come through, we would have to ask the applicants to have a plan A, plan B, even.
But we do. I mean, Plan A is
I know.
the major waiver. Plan B is the $100,000 stair.
Or it could also encompass reducing the number of units inside, have a plan C.
That's
So,
very true.
and applicants have reduced the number of units in the past too. So, I mean, these are all options.
Well, that's why I'm bringing it up.
No, I
For
understand
discussion.
you're trying to get the most bang for your buck with your
Right.
client, and I see that.
Right.
And, with the new code, we're gonna be hearing a lot of, these types of things, with major waiver requests. So
I understand that. Yeah.
I do feel strongly like Sue and staff does about not granting major waiver for this because the parking's not a requirement. So I don't know if you have to hammer that rock outcropping out of there, but I just, again, we've asked clients to have plans A, B, and C, and, it's a back and forth, and we come to a compromise. So,
Right.
I mean, I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that.
We didn't make the code.
I understand that, right?
We just have to follow it. So I'm gonna go with, staff's recommendation.
Chuck?
Staff, right?
And part of staff recommendation is to reduce the number, or there's?
No, it wouldn't reduce the number.
That's, okay, so just against not going.
Yeah.
not going
There's
for
other
the major
alternatives.
waiver. Yeah,
That a major waiver may not be required.
Matt?
It's one of those situations where you want more housing or you want everything more on the street or something like this in place.
Well, we are having more. I know what you're saying.
The code was.
I will also say that the applicant did formally pull his waiver request. We refunded his application, his fee for it. So he formally pulled it.
Okay, I didn't know that fee was refunded.
So we're not even making a decision on a major waiver right now. No, that conversation's over.
All right, so that point is moot then, right? Okay, so.
Been helpful 5 minutes ago.
All right, so let's move on from this point then. What, the major waiver's been pulled, the request.
Okay.
So what plan do we go with now, B or C?
The plan the latest plan which was submitted has the stair tower in the back.
Okay,
So we have ground floor units or first floor units entered from the front.
okay,
And then we have the second floor units entered through a stair tower off
Flannery?
Flannery.
okay.
Correct.
Still hammering out more to pocket out the parking lot?
That'll be my client's decision whether he wants to go ahead with that or not. Spend the money, right?
Yeah.
That's the way we're showing it at this point, that,
Okay.
there's gonna be some rock removal.
And that'll be part of the approval then, too, for, yeah, okay.
But you need the rock removal to add the garage or?
Not to add the garage, but to get the vehicle access to it, yes.
Is there access to?
So what are you looking to consider?
In the back?
It's just a lot.
I thought there was a garage or something like that.
There's a dilapidated garage that we're basically taking down and enlarging a little bit.
Constructed everything over there?
So I said Warren's, side of the garage. Warren's rock removal?
No, it's the staircase that's kind of, gonna push the driveway over, which then requires a rock removal.
He does need to provide it could be a street, could be at the street. All right, we're also looking through item by item here too, some of the stuff that was brought up at the last meeting.
Okay.
Uh,
Hey, Ron. How you doing? Yeah, sure.
Hi there.
I just made your argument for a waiver, but I didn't get anywhere.
Did I pronounce your last name right? Faya?
Sure.
Okay, Ron Faya is here, the applicant. All right, so as he said, I understand the major waiver request has been pulled, the money has been refunded to you, right, for that? Yes, okay. All right, parking, I know last time we discussed, there needs to be a handicapped parking spot, it could be outside, right? Has a formal application been made or a request to council for that, please?
We've identified one on,
Okay,
on the street already.
all right, so and that is, where is that? Just to refresh my memory, is it right there or is it?
No, it's over on, by the,
What's O'Reilly Street?
by the Elks, is it the Elks or the Legion?
American Legion?
The Legion,
Okay.
yeah.
And I think we were discussing, was that was in a reasonable distance or,
That's kind of the tricky situation. There's no distance requirement in the zoning code. I don't know about the ADA code, but no. No, they're in the rear of City Hall. Access handicap parking's in the back. It's across Broadway and down a side street. It's not like it's in close proximity, but there is one there if you want to consider it.
I mean, there's no language that defines how far it can be or it's just,
No,
I mean, we've
no,
identified
that I
one.
can find.
Okay, so we've identified that one, right? So we can check that off. Landscaping, we're just going over. Did we finalize those plans yet?
They provided a landscaping plan out front. Ron, you want to speak to that? What your intention is with landscaping along the front facade and along Broadway? I know you identified, some shrubbery and that. I don't know if you identified any trees or anything in the front.
What landscaping do we have? I'm sorry.
We just have some low shrubs, some evergreens and some, rhododendrons called out in front. The existing landscaping that's there is pretty much shot.
Okay.
Is there any particular landscape that you like?
It's,
Pardon?
Is there any particular landscaping that you like? Some tulips, flowers, evergreens,
My rhododendrons are.
rhododendrons, right? Whatever you need.
Some low shrubs, obviously. It's a nice looking building. You don't wanna hide the building.
Right.
With anything, large or, intense, but, some low level, which is a long strand, which you've got around the corners there. I think there's a street tree there. Or is there a tree?
If you give us a list of, if you give a list of what you'd like, I'll make sure they're there.
We can leave that at the staff level for that, but we typically do that, but we'll leave that at the staff level for, the consultant,
Okay.
all right? The refuse storage, where's that gonna take place?
it's, just underneath the stair. There's an exterior stair on the garage, so
Okay,
coat storage underneath there.
Did you have a chance to talk to building safety about that? There was another structure on Broadway that had, the cans were gonna be stored underneath the staircase. And they disallowed that. They had to find another location.
An exterior staircase?
Yeah, it was an exterior staircase.
Okay.
I believe it was I think it was metal. I think it was a wood. Was it wood?
I don't remember.
My description.
One on Henry Street?
350 Broadway.
No, was it on Henry Street was?
Is there any,
We're under the
Under the
stoops.
stairs.
Yeah.
is there any particular, I mean, again, like the flowers, is there any particular place you'd like it?
well, I mean, this is something that you could be handled on staff level too, I imagine, get into the nitty gritty of that, this is
Yeah.
something that we could.
Are you're planning to use the totes? with
Yes,
it?
of course, absolutely. As you mentioned, I need additional totes for this.
Yeah, just check with the DPW because along Broadway, because of the way the traffic and the parking is, I don't know if they collect totes on Broadway. If you're gonna bring them out to Flannery though, they might pick them up along Flannery, because they do pick them up behind City Hall, they pick up totes. But along Broadway, if you're intending to pull them that way, I don't think that they would.
I think the easiest location would be place them on fire, this way they could go up the driveway.
Yeah. So
But
just
again,
check.
if there's any particular, I mean, if that doesn't work for the board, wherever you want the totes to be, they'll go there.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
we'll
yeah,
work with
you can work with, on staff level
Okay.
too, so. The privacy fence is still proposed.
Correct.
The payment in lieu of parkland, there's one unit that requires that fee. That, have we gotten a recommendation back from rec department yet?
Did we send this to Rick? I don't
I
recall
can't
seeing
remember if
anything.
this was one of the ones that we sent last
Coming
month or
back.
not.
Okay.
So many.
They didn't have quorums for a couple meetings,
Okay,
so we go ahead and do the assessment of H, and if we find something different.
and everybody's good with the assessment for the single unit above 4? You want $3,000 for that? Okay. You already discussed lighting and utilities, right, the last one? All right. Anything else?
The only thing, you just need to go back to, John had requested in his application, just waiving a couple of the required submissions. The one was obviously the location of water bodies, wetlands, and floodplains. His reasoning is that there's none existing. We find that that's acceptable. The second was a proposed stormwater drainage system. However, on your plans now, you do have an underground chamber system
We
that's
do, yeah,
going to
it's a
collect
small
the
system.
stormwater from the roof, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that's on there now, so that one is no longer a requirement. And then proposed lots, easements, public areas, streets, et cetera. And he just, again, no proposed items in that category, which is acceptable. And they do have an open space. Obviously, you can see that the darker shaded area, that's their designated required open space on the site.
Okay.
So as long as the board agrees with the waiver of those other two.
Everybody's good with that? Everybody can. You have anything else? Is there an Knox box on the building?
I don't know if there's an Oxbox on there now or not.
I don't think this, it's
Okay.
a box for fire department access.
No, it's not there. All right, so that'll be part of the approval. So. All right. Any other questions from the board? Okay.
Excuse me, I don't know if you want to know this now or later, but that's why I was late, sorry. I went to get a sample of the sheeting, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
The siding, sorry, of the siding that we're using for the areas. This would be for the garage and also the proposed tower. I think, you know, the question may come up, so I figured I'd bring it up now. This is the material I'm using.
Okay.
Which is a composite resin material. And it's a color that we use in another project.
Okay.
When in front of the board, so I figured
Like.
okay. So I
Is
guess
that
that's right.
what, maybe the window trim is,
White.
are you intending to do the window trim in that color too, or just,
No, I would, this would just be for the,
just the addition and?
for the addition to the
Okay.
garage, and the window trim would be white,
Okay,
and this would be the
Okay.
siding.
all right, good. What color is that by any chance? Does that have, does that have a
It's
written on
not,
the back?
no, it's not, I can get you the color
Yeah,
if you'd like, but it's a bluish gray.
yeah, it's nice, I like it.
It's what you suggested on the other project with the Field Street, so we can see.
All right, so we're ready for a decision. Well, actually, can we get a seeker? That's already been done.
Okay.
Okay, so this is an unlisted action under seeker. That Form A short environmental assessment form that staff has indicated is in order. At this time, I'll make a motion that we approve it. Do I have a second? Second by Robert Jacobson. All in favor? Wayne Platt is a yes. Charles Palaco?
Yes.
Robert Jacobson?
Yes.
Matt Gillis?
Yes.
Vince Archer?
Yes.
That is approved. Okay. Thank you again. All right, so do you want to go over the list of policies and conditions?
Sure, so I have board policies 4A, 6, 7, 13, 17, 17A, 20, 21, 23, and 24. This will be an approval for 5 residential units in the main building, with there be no residential use in the new rear garage.
The enclosed staircase will be in the rear with the access to Flannery. So there is no major waiver being granted. They will comply with the handicap requirements in the code. Payment in lieu of parkland will be remitted in the amount of $3,000 for the 1 unit above 4. And that will be remitted before building permit is issued. Final landscaping and refuse will be worked out with staff.
Okay. So all of those are being formulated into a formal motion to accept approve item number 7. Do I have a second on that? Vince Archer with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good night. Good night now.
You want the chair here or should I move it?
You can leave it there.
Leave it there?
Thank you.
Okay, under new business, item number 8 is 21 Bluestone Court, subdivision of the lands of SSLI Holdings LLC and creation of a walkable neighborhood plan with a minor waiver for a dead-end street. Section block and lot is 56.88-4-7, transect zone SD-MF, large site standards, Ward 1, SSLI Holdings LLC is the applicant owner. All right, Robert Jacobson is going to be recusing himself because of prior business relations with the applicants. So
Sage.
Sage, you're in. We'll see you in a while.
So,
All right, so we have Luke Interante, Stefan Sanzi, and Mike Terry here.
I'm going to give you guys a short introduction. So tonight we're here with a sketch plan for a 15-lot subdivision located at 21 Bluestone Court. We are proposing a 15-lot subdivision in a T3N neighborhood, which is going to be a walkable neighborhood. Our streets are proposed to be designed with a C4 general wide road standard. We meet all the zoning regs. Again, this is a sketch plan. This is by no means a final subdivision plan. And we are here tonight seeking requirements and suggestions and comments with regards to moving forward with our proposed 15-lot subdivision at 21 Bluestone Court.
So just a little bit of background for everybody. You all remember this was a multi-family residential project before under the old zoning code. So when the new zoning came into play, this parcel got a designation as a special district multifamily. Given some of the history with some of the neighbors and the concerns that had been raised, the owners then gave this some thought and have decided to go a different route. And this is to do an actual subdivision of individual parcels. Under the code, this is considered a large lot parcel, which requires them to either choose between a walkable neighborhood plan or a conservation village plan. So they are choosing a walkable neighborhood plan, and with the adjacent parcel being a T3N, they can use that as the basis of their subdivision and developing their lots with the provision that they have at least 2 building types that are proposed. And so in their plans preliminarily, they've proposed 2 types. Single family detached is one type and a duplex is the second building type that they're proposing. And they do have some examples of what they're thinking, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But so basically the plan still has the access off of Bluestone Court, which is a city street. And the roadway will need to be reviewed and approved by our city engineer. It is a dead-end roadway with a turnaround at the end. And under the new code, that is allowed with a minor waiver. And it's the only way you can do a dead end is to provide what they call, they call it a close, but it's effectively a turnaround. So we've looked at, some examples, and what we want to do at staff level is have the applicants come in and sit with us and our city engineer and our fire chief to look at some possible alterations to a straight cul-de-sac to maybe a T design or a Y design which might be more usable when it comes to the fire apparatus being able to, emergency personnel access and do a turnaround at the end. There is still a outlet to Lucas, which is reserved as pedestrian only. You can see there's a sidewalk that's leading out that way. That will also be used for bringing in all of the utilities to this location. That's pretty much in line with what had been proposed before. Stormwater is a little bit different. I'll let maybe Luke or Stefan talk about that. Instead, if you recall, the last time they had an underground chamber, pretty much in the middle of the property where they had a parking lot that was being proposed. They're still using the underground chamber system, which is going to be located off the cul-de-sac end there. But they also have multiple rain gardens that are situated all along both sides of that one segment of the street after you make the turn. So they're doing both of that. And I believe there's an overflow being proposed out to Lucas, which is something that we need to talk about further with the city engineer. So that's another thing. What else can I say? Most of the parcels are 50 by 100 or thereabouts. As you can see, they're showing the buildable areas on each of the properties. That's using the setbacks that are required. Guess that's pretty much the highlights for now.
You did a great job.
So.
And we did have a preliminary meeting before with everybody from the municipality. I think that was back in March.
That was probably in the spring when we were considering rezoning.
Right.
But I know that John has received this most current set, so we'll need to meet with him and get notes and make sure that we're not missing anything on what they'd like to see.
Right. Right.
Are you still planning to have, I hope you do, the emergency access out to Lucas Ave?
Yeah, we basically didn't change that very much. We're gonna bring in utilities there. We're gonna have, we were either gonna have a breakaway bollard. In this case, we'll have the width for the sidewalk, but then the same thing. The fire department will be able to pull the apparatus in that way if they need to.
It won't be a paved surface, right? It'll be like.
No, it'll be a porous surface with the sidewalk through the center. Similar to last time, I think we had like a geo paver.
It'll have a green scape, like a landscape appearance, but it'll have an underlayment.
Yeah, so
that's capable of
supporting heavy vehicles.
apparatus.
Okay. And, like that gets maintained in the winter too, like cleared off? Yeah, okay. What about screening from other, like, how are you gonna screen? You planning on screening?
Well, we have the streetscape and the street plantings and stuff detailed in the plan set. Given that this will be a subdivision, we're creating these individual lots for, homeowners or what have you. The lot specific landscaping would ultimately be up to the owner of the property. Unless there was a requirement to build in those covenants or something like that.
So are these all gonna be built on spec as they're going through, or are you gonna?
We're not really sure. I mean, the expectation is we'll probably do one on spec and then offer a lot and build package, potentially just offer lots for sale. So we think there's a market for any sort of different scenario.
I'm just thinking about, with the screening, and you said it's gonna be up to the individual property owners, but, they're gonna want privacy also for their backyards, right? So, I mean, I don't know how a patchwork of different, I don't know what works. Is that good, or do we like a uniform?
Yeah, I mean, it's
I don't know.
no different
just
than
throwing it out
any
there.
neighborhood street, any
Some
block.
folks might want fence, some people might want,
Yeah, that'll be up to them.
vegetation,
To
okay.
the individual owner, just like any city block. If you buy a house, if you wanna
Yeah, I think you
work
see
out
the
what's
same
there.
on Bluestone and Dunneman, sort of, there's some people have a fence.
Will that be part of any like deed covenants or anything like that? That
We don't
they
have
need- That they need to install these things, something?
We don't have a plan to put any covenants in the deed other than what's required by building code, unless that was required for planning approval.
Okay.
The subject just hadn't come up, until now.
So there may be other deed covenants too that, or other, you're trying to put together, right, for the whole project or?
Yeah, I mean, if required, I mean, I think in its simplest form, we would subdivide it and the lots would be T3 and city lots to comply with that zoning. Again, unless.
Do you have a sense of how many might be built as duplexes and how many might be the detached home with potentially, maybe a garage included or detached garage?
Yeah, the short answer is no, depending when we get the approval, the infrastructure to put the road in. We sort of have a lot to do before we get to that point. And it's hard to say what the market would be in a couple of years. We certainly want to offer some rentals and if it's needed.
Or a duplex, somebody buys one and rents out the other for a source of income. Pretty much like Lounsbury has a mix of multifamily, duplexes and single family.
Okay.
Is a good street, or Johnson Avenue was another great street to.
Anything we build, if we do, on spec or for a client build or something like that, we want to be able to offer something like an ADU and take advantage of that. In code and potential tax incentive for them to do that. So the idea would become a new neighborhood, meeting the new code and taking advantage of those.
So the intent is to build the roadway and turn it over, dedicate it to the city as a public street. So there wouldn't be any homeowners association per se. So all of the utilities that support utilities, water, sewer, storm would all be turned over. That's the intent, to do it so that it's to a city code, to a city expectation, so that when the time comes, it would be accepted by the city. So that's why it's important
Similar
for them
to
to work
Bluestone
right now.
Court,
Right.
right? Right, Bluestone Court.
Right, exactly.
Same concept.
Right.
It's a cul-de-sac. So this is a cul-de-sac, go up a cul-de-sac.
Street lighting, I don't recall seeing street lighting.
We don't have a lighting plan. We did highlight on maybe page 4 or 5, the requirement, which is minimum one or max 1 candle foot, fully shielded.
Okay.
So we will have that.
Okay, maybe
actual
like
plan.
a similar type of street pole lamp like that's what you see on Bluestone Court.
Exactly. Try to match that
height.
style.
Okay.
And,
We can mimic that.
and then do the
Good
full
for
measure for
Okay.
a fixture like that.
With to answer one other question too, is, with regards to screening along Bluestone Court, keep in mind that there's multiple PVC fences in this area and thick pine too. So, there's already a natural barrier between this parcel and the Bluestone parcels.
And I believe the first house on the left of Bluestone is the bottom right corner.
The first house? No, it's that little hook that little.
As we come in here, yes.
Yeah, it's like right here.
Yep,
This-
correct.
This turn.
Correct. And these homes here, there's thick pine in this area and then there's white PVC fence in
I
that.
put a fence up for 40.
Yes,
on
correct. That's what I'm
Bluestone,
speaking
right?
of. Correct, yes.
When we did that as a step home, Luke and I.
Kyle, can you just flip to the proposed buildings? We just want to, under the form-based code, you're proposing some building types that show the garages jutting out from the front of the actual plane of the face of the building.
Yeah,
Those would not be allowed under the form-based code.
realize that after the
Okay,
fact.
all right,
What we had
just so
done
you're
was
aware.
pull elevations for footprints that fit within the
Right.
setback in terms of width and.
Right, the
length
one
of
that's
the building.
plain, that's what's with the face of the building would be acceptable.
Yeah.
Okay.
We wanted to show just a few different styles, but that was.
Yeah,
certainly
and
easy.
they're nice.
We can easily remove that front garage and finish the front.
And Luke and I years ago did 36 Schufeldt, which is a similar Kingston 2-story with a front porch. put a garage just on a traditional lots, just like this.
Yeah, so this bottom one in the middle, we have another option for that where
Right,
that garage isn't jutting out in front.
right, the top
That's
corner,
similar to the
yeah.
top left, yeah.
But when it's flat, like the one on the
That,
top
that
right,
would be
That's
acceptable.
yeah, it's a nice house.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the design. So Alderman, perhaps you get a question.
Yeah, since I represent Ward 1, this is in my district, and there was a question that came to me. The residents know that this is coming, and they knew that it was going to be presented tonight. And one person went online and looked at the plan, and his question relates less to the design and more to the requirement about why the road is coming into Bluestone and not going out directly into Lucas, which I understand was part of the original plan. But they were just concerned as to why the road just doesn't go straight out to Lucas.
Yeah, the original,
Rather than going through that.
Well, it's because the road doesn't match up exactly with Boulder Avenue, and there's like, it's not a perfect cross section.
so originally we had a traffic study done, and we can share that report with you.
Oh,
And
then
the traffic study found that it was much safer to enter and exit this development off of Bluestone Court. Ulster County Planning Board, if I'm not mistaken, agreed with that decision.
oh, okay.
So that was all, that
And
was
the
pretty
volume
much.
wasn't even enough, even at the 46 unit apartments even, understand what the traffic.
What the impact would be.
With the impact, it's so minor.
And mathematically speaking, we don't have the width to enter out to Lucas. We're shy quite a bit. So we have plenty of frontage along Bluestone, but we do not have the width to exit along the existing driveway there. We're short by quite a bit of footage. So, and once again, the traffic study, showed that our safest, most, our best way to exit was through Bluestone.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
to see,
that
to
was
answer
up
the
for,
question.
we
Right.
talked about that a lot, but once we got the traffic study done and then Ulster County Planning Board and then this board agreed, so that was sort of finalized, but I could share the traffic.
Okay, yeah, that was really the
It
only
is,
question.
it is online, all of the
Oh,
old
it's-
information is still
Oh, it's
there.
still online.
Yeah,
Oh,
you can still find the old information, and
Okay,
our
if
city
I can't
engineer,
find it, I know who to call.
yeah, our city engineer reviewed it as well.
Okay, great.
And it's safe to assume that the volume is going to be
It's gonna be much less.
than the previous proposal.
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
So thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
So, for tonight, obviously this is sketch plan. I don't know if the board has any more questions, but for tonight, we do need to do one action, and that is, this is considered a type 1 action on the Department of Health, New York State Department of Health list, which transfers to their local Ulster County Health Department. And so, being a type 1 action, we have a resolution prepared. I think there's a copy in your packets for this board to seek the lead agency in that action. So that would be what we want to look at tonight. We'll circulate it. We did prepare a list of involved and interested agencies. We tried to be as inclusive as we possibly could be, identifying both involved and interested agencies. So if there's any, like if you have any funding or lenders that you want to add to that, please let us know ASAP. But we've included pretty much every city agency we can think of, the county health department, the DUC, the county planning board, as well as just whomever else we thought of. We're just going to cover as many bases as we can.
At this point, we're just self-funding it, so.
Okay. All right. So you want to read that
Yeah.
resolution?
Yeah. Okay, resolution of the City of Kingston Planning Board to seek designation of lead agency for number 21 Bluestone Court, section block and lot 56.88-4-7, in the secret process under 6 NYCRR Part 617. Whereas SSLI Holdings LLC, the applicant, has submitted a completed Part 1 of the full environmental assessment form to the City of Kingston Planning Board, to subdivide a 2.698 acre parcel into 15 lots for purposes of creating a walkable neighborhood plan as defined under the City of Kingston Form-Based Code Section 405.25. Large site standards is the action. And whereas the project is located at 21 Bluestone Court, Kingston, New York, section block and lot 56.88-4-7. And whereas although the application is considered unlisted action under 6 NYCRR Part 617, New York State DEC seeker, it is recognized as a type 1 action by the Ulster County Department of Health or the New York State Department of Health criteria and therefore must be treated as such. And whereas the designation of a lead agency and a determination of the significance of the action on the environment must be made in order to comply with the New York State Environmental Conservation Law, which is the Seeker Act, and regulations promulgated thereunder by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. And whereas the City of Kingston Planning Department is in coordination with the applicant, has identified a list of involved and interested agencies based upon the information submitted. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Kingston Planning Board as follows. Section 1, that the action is determined to be a type 1 action as defined under the New York State Department of Health adopted type 1 list, and a coordinated review must be undertaken. Section 2, that the City of Kingston Planning Board desires to establish itself as lead agency in the environmental review process. And Section 3, that the Planning Department is directed to circulate a request to all involved and interested agencies seeking concurrence with the designation of the Kingston Planning Board as a lead agency for the seeker review of the action. Section 4, that this resolution shall take effect immediately. I'll make a motion that we adopt this resolution. Do I have a second? Second by Chuck Palaco. All in favor? Wayne Platt is a yes. Seth?
I'm sending this one out for signature.
Okay. Charles Palaco?
Yes.
Matt Gillis?
Yes.
Vince Archer?
Yes.
Sage Newkirk?
Yes.
Okay, this is adopted. And we got one coming around for signatures right now.
At what point does it trigger for a public comment period?
Well, one of the things I was going to say next is that we're going to send you a copy of the staff notes that we've developed so far. Also taking the drawing set that we have and I'm marking it up. So I'll send you that electronically. I'll send it to the three of you. Because there's a lot of comments that I pointed to on there where I just question certain things or I say this needs clarification or I need the detail of this, so those kind of comments. So I would like to have as much of that back to us as a complete application before we schedule the public hearing. But we're going to immediately circulate everything. So we'll do the two of those things working together as well as setting up a meeting with the city engineer and the fire chief. And I'll probably pull in the building safety division as well, just to make sure we're getting whatever comments.
When do you think that meeting would take place? Over the next few weeks or?
I'd like to do it as soon as we can, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
whatever comments come out of that, we want to include with the staff notes and just try to.
We'll do one cast or
Yeah.
response back.
Great. We look forward to seeing how this project develops, local for local people here, that's
It's been a
good.
bunch of years, so.
Yeah. All right, anybody else have any questions from the board? All right, so this time, make a motion that we table item number 8. Do I have a second? Sage Newkirk with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Everybody for your time. Take care, guys.
All right. We can bring Robert back in there, I guess. Okay. Okay, discussion. Item number 9 is 206 and 208 Blackwood Avenue. Discussion on anticipated site plan for multifamily housing, section block and lot is 48.74-3-24 and 48.74-3-19, Transect Zone SD-MF, Ward 6, Kingston Housing Authority is the owner.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
We're coming.
Good.
We're waiting outside.
Yeah.
Presentation.
I'll put it up just in case.
So as I said, my name is John First. I'm the attorney for the Kingston Housing Authority. I'm also working with co-applicant Nowco, Geralda Wilcox. She's the new executive director. So she'd like to introduce herself since she's been on the job for, is it 6 months now?
Almost 6
6
months.
months. So she'd like to kind of introduce herself, let you know what's going on in the general perspective. And then I'll speak for a very little bit and then we'll go through the site plans.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Got a little speech here.
Good.
Just bear with me. My name is Rhoda Wilcox, and I'm the newly appointed Executive Director of Kingston Housing Authority. I want to thank you. Thank you for hearing our proposed plans for the redevelopment of the Kingston Housing Authority portfolio. I want to introduce John Matteo, who is the Executive Vice President of Mountco. He's our development partner. Got John First, our attorney. We got Brian Booker, who is our civil engineer. And we got Christopher Walker. He's up, I'm gonna chop his name up, Off-Gang Architects. I'd like to take a few moments just to provide some context of our project. Over 5 years, the Housing Authority has been collaborating with the city and HCR, the State Division of Homes and Community Renewal, to develop a plan to redevelop and reposition our entire portfolio. Phase 1, the renovation of Van Dyke, was completed this year, formerly known as Stuyvesant Apartments. And tonight we want to focus on Penn Court, Colonial Gardens, Wiltwyck. Although Wiltwyck, Colonial Gardens do not need any zoning or planning variance, we're going to focus on Penn Court, which is going to be a full demolition. That building is going from a 32-unit site to an 82-unit senior site. That increases our affordable housing to 550. We have already submitted a preliminary application to HCR for the necessary funding, and they're the same agency that funded Van Dyke. We're working towards a financial closing in June of 2025, which requires us to have all planning and zoning approvals as well as a building permit in place. So therefore, we would greatly appreciate the board's prompt review of our project once we submit a formal application to ensure our continued planning efforts with the city and the state. Thank you, and now I'm going to introduce Mr. John First to begin our presentation.
Thanks. Well, you said most of what I was going to say. So just to emphasize for the board members, we haven't submitted a formal application just yet. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to discuss this via pre-submission conference. We're looking for some feedback from you guys. We've been working, well, not me, but I know KHA and Nowco have been working with your staff over the many months, trying to kind of get this project to at least a concept plan to present to this planning board. So we really appreciate any initial feedback and comments from the planning board tonight, so that we can go and hopefully submit a formal application very soon. The application will require a site plan review from the planning board. We will need some waivers, and the idea behind the waivers is if you grant these waivers, we will be able to provide more low-income and affordable housing. So that is kind of the goal. Everyone knows the housing crisis in New York State. Kingston Housing Authority and Nowco are trying to solve that problem. We're going to probably need some waivers in order to get to provide additional housing. I did provide a draft narrative regarding the waivers and how we think there's justification for them. but we don't have to get into those details tonight. The engineer can kind of go over them briefly, but certainly we can discuss them in more detail if you feel like it. But for now, I'm just going to turn it over to the engineer. He'll walk you guys through the concept plan of the site. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Brian Brooker, Brooker Engineering, Division of Weston and Sampson Engineering. Let me just start with the existing survey, since you might be familiar with the project's location. Flatbush Avenue. Colonial Gardens is on a flat site, fairly level. Stuyvesant, which was talked about earlier, is to the north. So it's just directly across Colonial Drive. There's a strip of land in here that you can see there's a boundary between two lots. We call that Penn Court because this street apparently is called Penn Court. At least it is on Google. So this is an existing condition survey. There are two smaller buildings long right here and right here, which are kind of gray, maybe it's a little hard to see them, but those are the buildings we plan to take down. We also have to abandon this lot line, and the application is a combination of these two lots, so they'll be treated as one lot when we're finished. This Colonial Gardens is proposed to be renovated, no real changes, except for we're going to get rid of some of the outdoor clotheslines and put laundry and other things in the main building that supplies heat to the whole project. This is sort of a utility building, and we're going to do some little changes down here to garbage collection areas. But other than that, all the units will be renovated into new condition without changing the exterior terribly. I think there's introductions of heat pumps and other things that will be added to these units, but otherwise you won't see any difference from the outside. We also plan to add landscaping in here. So there's a need for landscaping in this area. So then the proposal is what to do about these buildings, which are not in the greatest shape. So the plan is to build a 4-story new building in this kind of odd shape, just to introduce some contrast and lawns to get into that. The parking lot that's single-sided right along here will be expanded to a double-sided parking lot, and we kind of curved it around for interest, and we have a drop-off area. And we also have areas where we're going to do our stormwater mitigation and things that are required by state law to meet the stormwater regulations. As I said, there's also a retaining wall at this stage because this site is much higher than this site. There's a slope there, significant slope if you've been there.
What's the elevation difference?
This is about 15 feet difference.
Thank you.
And there's discussions within our office and with the applicant about maybe making a cut and lowering this a couple of feet to lower this wall. And then the entertainment maybe building in some kind of retaining in the rear instead. But basically this is being built on the existing grade that's there now. But this side, the reason that this is a one-sided parking lot is it falls right off that down to the grade here. And so in order to add the other side and to get all our stormwater in there, we're building a retaining wall. And I have like a little staircase here to connect the two. We also have a generator proposed, and there's an existing water line that's 6 inches here. I spoke to the water department. Since we're putting a retaining wall and changing the grades, we really have to relocate it and maybe put a nice new 8-inch ductile iron to replace the cast iron 6-inch. So that we have
generator. You just mentioned the generator. So is that's going to be within another structure, or is that
It sits on a pad.
It sits on a pad, okay?
Yeah, if you've been to Stuyvesant, you probably have seen the generator that's there. It's basically a rectangular metal box sitting on a concrete pad.
And that's emergency power generator, or is that for the utility company?
It's an emergency generator. The entire building is supposed to meet the stretch code, which is
Right.
not only the code, but greater than the energy code required by the state of New York. And in order to do that, we're going to need to put in heat pumps for all of the units. And as a result of the heat pumps, if the power goes out, you have no heat. So we have a generator to make sure that the building stays warm and still has power even in the event of a power failure. If it's an all-electric building, the feeling is that's required.
Is this, are these like large, like a big diesel?
Yes. It's like 45 feet long, 8 feet tall. It's not a little guy.
And that's located where again?
We have it located here. This is a gas line easement. We think it'll be diesel, but it's possible that we might be able to do it with natural gas, since there is a natural gas line right here. And this little gray thing is a utility easement. So if you notice, the building is kind of dictated by that. We're gonna look and see what it is in terms of if it can be made smaller, moved a little, it's sort of, tough spot. But
Is the easement a county-owned easement, or is that a utility-owned easement?
Central Hudson,
Central Hudson easement?
yes.
Okay.
And this easement, the water zone is by the city. So I know the city is okay with the city water department said, relocating it would be a smart idea. When I explained to them why I wanted to do it, then, that made sense. And of course, it's new and doesn't have to have maintenance.
So that generator is gonna be down below the grade of the road, Flatbush? Or is that
Yes,
gonna be-
Flatbush is at 238 and the Grant generator is at 216. So it's 32 feet lower.
Okay.
And this is a forest of trees right here, so you're not gonna see it from Flatbush. Maybe if you're right here coming along this bend and you look across, you might be able to see it. But it's certainly not directly like that. Now, the architecture, I have a presentation to show you what the building will look like. Unless you have any other questions for me. Maybe, let me just go through a couple of metrics, Joe, because this is, we have a need for waivers. And so we have a need for a waiver of for the maximum height. Because the building code says we can have 2.5 stories. And we are proposing 4. The maximum coverage in this zone, in Stuyvesant, it's 0.4 for the coverage. For some reason, Colonial Gardens is 0.25. So, but the existing Colonial Gardens, without doing anything, is 43% for this. So it exceeds the coverage by, it's 43%. We're going to 48.6%. So it's a small increase, but it's starting way above what the code said is the maximum. And then the last thing is the building length. You're about 150 feet. We have 325 feet, and the architect will explain how he's trying to mitigate that length of the building and the fact that if you split the building, you need 2 elevators and 2 of everything for exits. So you end up with a much more expensive building it becomes unfeasible. Is that the end of it? Okay, I'm sorry. So that's, when we're done now, let's see. The existing site has 130 units. We're going to have 180. That's the full site, including common gardens. The lot coverage we just went over. Parking, we're going from 122 spaces to 151 spaces. And that's about it.
So, what's this down? So, architecture presentation. Great. So as Brian mentioned, the building is 300 plus feet in total building length. But to mitigate that overall length, we split the building up into three portions, one 150 feet, one approximately 130 feet. With the center portion recessed from the inside, or the center portion recessed to sort of break up the street wall, mitigate that length. As Brian's point, if we had split it into two buildings, then the overall cost of construction would increase as we would need multiple elevators and egress routes in and out. On the ground floor, we have approximately 5,000 square feet of amenity space for the proposed residents, situated in the back here, with about a little bit of 13,000 square feet of, 1,300 square feet of outdoor recreation space on grade. The facade will also be broken up. You can see that in the final pages of the design package. So the facade will be broken up to, again, increase the mitigation of the overall building length. Every unit is going to be a one-bedroom apartment dedicated for senior, as we had discussed previously. There is a central drop-off area directly off of the main lobby, with the elevator directly off of the main entrance, centrally located, so people split between the building. You have access walking to your apartment.
So the unit breakdown now, the 32, they're not one bedrooms, they're more than one bedroom, correct?
There's efficiencies which are
They're
studio.
efficiencies, all efficiencies?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going from 32 efficiencies to 80 one bedrooms.
Yeah, and part of the reason for that was our discussions with the state, and those efficiencies are really not functional. And one bedroom unit is demand. And the state has really encouraged us to make that change, as well as the state encouraged us to try to get more units on site.
And all of these are dedicated towards the senior
Yes,
client?
yes.
Okay.
There'll be a community room and facilities.
Is there an age restriction or is it just? Is there an age restriction or is it just the landlord?
I think there'll be an age restriction. And there'll be a agreement of the state to maintain, there'll be a restrictive covenant on the project. It's not working. It's only-
Kingston Meadows.
There's an architectural presentation.
So if you're a married couple, you could live in a one bedroom. One could be a senior, the other might not quite be a senior, but you could live there if you qualify.
Right, if one of the household members is a
Right,
senior.
exactly, yeah. Can you just speak to, like, obviously, these units are probably occupied, how you're gonna work, you know, where these people will temporarily be displaced to, or if they're going to be permanently located, and then these will all be new individuals moving in. Can you speak a little bit to that program?
So they will be permanently relocated. We have units at Roundout that they will be relocated to, but they still have the right to return, first right to return. So once the completion of the construction is done, they still get first opportunity to move back to those units.
Nice.
Unless they're under the age restriction.
Well, most of them now are on the age, or over the age restriction.
And that relocation plan will be reviewed by the state before the project closes. And as well as the budget for that.
So, right, so they're given assistance with that relocation, right?
Assistance and financial assistance, so there's no cost
To
for
that.
residents to move there or move back.
Great.
And those units are, gonna have project-based vouchers attached to the units
Okay.
to assist with rental costs.
Is that, I guess, the only other thing that we have with the board's, thought is that we obviously met with the residents there, explained the program to them, had a series of meetings, and we'll be meeting with them throughout the process, okay, if the project goes forward, to keep them advised. And similar to what the housing authority, we did with the Van Dyke project, okay, we set up a committee to work with us throughout the whole process, which was really very helpful.
The outdoor recreation areas, what are they gonna entail having there? Do you know yet?
I mean, ideally, we would have some sort of seating area. I believe we've talked about how actively, we would make the recreation space. For the moment, it's sitting off of the community room as well as the computer room.
Can you talk about the amenities that are gonna be there? There's an amenity space. What will those entail?
Sure, so we have a service room, that's 580 square feet, just off of the main lobby. We have a community room, a computer room, package room for mail. We have a laundry room as well as a fitness and bike storage.
Any type of community room too for?
Yes, we have the community room is the largest of the spaces.
Can you just go through the picture that you have here? It looks like a big long building, but I know the building moves. Is this, what we're looking at, this is like the center?
Yes, that would be the center.
These are the centers. This would be like on Flatbush end, and this would be on.
Correct, that image is sort of distorted to sort of give you a flat image of each side.
Yeah.
So all access, just the points of access into the structure are going to be from the interior, not from anything along the backside, correct? All main entries will be.
So the main entrance will be coming off of this drop off here. There's about depending on where you are, about a roughly 20-foot drop between Flatbush Ave and the backside of the building. So all of the entrances will be here, and as well as the exits coming off going into the parking area.
From the Flatbush side, I don't have a copy of the set in front of me, but from the Flatbush side, the visual, is it going to have any, like I'm looking for the street side appearance, so that's what it's going to look like.
That would be the
Back
last
side.
actually.
Pretty much the same.
Same, but again.
And it'll have
breaking
color
up the area.
variations, it'll have demonstration.
Color variations,
demonstration.
varying depths
Okay.
to sort of break up that long
But in
street.
Flatbush, you're really only see like third, fourth floor
Right, because of that height difference.
elevation.
So we're looking at a couple of years here for demolition construction, right? Does it count?
Yes, I don't know the exact
If we, right now, our discussions with the state are they're trying to slot us into their funding cycle for next June, which means we would have to relocate everyone by the time we were to close. So we're working with the housing authority to do that. So assuming that we closed in June, we'd move immediately into demolition. And then we're looking at probably 18 to 24 month period to demolish and reconstruct the new building.
So you have to have the people relocated before the state closed financial closing?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's on the roof.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
What is on the roof?
On the roof.
On the roof, plan right now is to put a solar array. We're working with a solar team to figure out exactly how that's gonna look, so it doesn't, adversely impact the look of the site as well as the building itself.
What are all the heat pumps?
The heat pumps, we have a mechanical room. We have mechanical rooms at the northern end of the ground floor.
So these are geothermal? When you say heat pump, do these have like units outside like air conditioners, or are these geothermal where they're internal? Like you're using ground?
Don't remember if we're doing pieces.
So then are they?
Let us get you an answer on that to me. We don't want to give you a.
Because if there's heat pumps and there's air conditioners, where are they gonna be housed? What are they gonna look like?
Okay, we can get you that information.
I thought you'd tell me they were on the roof.
Well, you're not gonna, are they gonna be individually controlled for each, like, will each unit be able to control their heating and cooling system? Or is that going to be something that's,
Is there like a master system for the whole building, or is each unit just having like a normal heat, I
think we gotta get that from the MEP.
okay? Yeah, because that's an awful lot of units.
Yeah, that's why I'm just wondering where they're all
So I
going.
thought there were P-TECs, because, I think that they're on this. Yep.
So eventually we'll talk about construction entrances and, you're gonna have a delicate balance here between getting what you need to have done and, the circulation of getting vehicles in and out of there, the scene safety with, there's a lot of children there, right? And, how do you,
It's also on a curve,
Yeah.
which is, not the easiest in and out. So with construction vehicles, which aren't very quick moving in and out on that curve could be relatively.
You're also building the road now that's gonna go all the way through, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. So now you're gonna have a through, the project has a through road.
Right, but as Wayne was saying, construction vehicles going through the site could also be extremely disruptive for the tenants that are currently there in Colonial. So that's something to think about, how that's gonna work. What kind of shared, services do you see, this new, facility and the existing housing facility having?
My goal is to bring in other resources to enable and improve the seniors' lifestyle. When it comes to food and help, working with some of the agencies within the community to assist them with diabetes knowledge, blood pressure, all that things, little workshops with the computer room, just, keep their mind going,
Yeah, it's somewhat like, a little bit like what the Golden Hill project is trying to accomplish, and that's more of an intergenerational complex that has seniors and has, families. So you have the same dynamic going on here that they have up there, and they have daycare, and you've got the children's daycare there as well. So even though it's not with housing authority, but it's still right there nearby. So it's kind of the same type of dynamic, I think.
It is, the only thing that I would add is that the Colonial Gardens is gonna have its own community room, its own laundry, so there's some distinction between the two.
So I'll just ask, you're putting a rather large building in a small spot. It's 4 stories on a high elevation. Was this site picked over Colonial Gardens, which is more spread out, strictly because you have the studio apartments, and that's just what isn't sustainable at this point?
The first thing that we looked at was the fact that we really want to get rid of those studios and make them ones. And then it became, okay, what can you do on the site? And then there was a sort of a push from the state as well as I think, locally for more affordable housing. And here's an opportunity to provide affordable housing and to get value for the land that's already owned by the housing authority.
More density. And also with Colonial, we're providing more green space, getting rid of the clotheslines, and also our community room, we're moving it from upstairs to downstairs, so it's gonna be ADA accessible. We're providing laundry services for our residents, so we're adding a lot more amenities to not only to make it more community-based than just a Band-Aid on opening.
The only other thing I would add, just to put it in full context, so there's one financing package that's going into the state, and that financing package is going to be Penn Court, Colonial Gardens, and Wiltwick. Wiltwick is just going to be a rehab. And that allows us to get some efficiencies of scale with the state. Because when the state issues a bond package, there are a lot of associated costs. So to go from a number here to a number here, because you have more units, you get a benefit of adding units. So the total package, financing package, is about 240 units between Colonial Gardens, Penn Court, and Wiltwick. And those numbers, we're still going back and forth with the state. But that's a much more effective use of the state resources if they can combine those packages, those units.
And we didn't mention Wiltwick, regarding some renovations there to our community room. We're redesigning that to add more laundry service for them over there with the updated community room. Those things are being looked at also.
When was Wiltwick constructed? Do you know a date on that?
We can get it for you. It was a while ago.
Yeah. It's a curious question.
I gotta say, with the way the existing senior complex is right now, the courtyard that's there, when I worked for the fire department, so when we would go to calls there for different calls, there always seemed to be people outside and utilizing that space to its full potential, fully. And I just, I know you need more housing, but I don't want folks who are gonna go there now with this new place to lose that, that ability to be outside and mingle with other residents, anything you can do to enhance and to preserve the outside, that allows people to enjoy the grounds. I think, if they have an opportunity to maximize that, to not lose that, I think that would be hitting it out of the park.
That's a great comment, thank you.
And I really like the layout of that, but I know you can't do it with this, but anything you can do.
That's why I was asking about the roof.
I know, but anything you can do to keep that sense of community going there would be wonderful.
You'll have some views from that roof.
Yeah, that could be a great opportunity, actually. Flat roof.
Little trap terrace.
You bring whatever upstairs, that's $1 million deal.
And the plan for vehicle flow would be two-way going out to Flatbush from Penn Court? There'll be,
Yes.
okay.
We do have two ways, both this and this connection are two ways.
Two-way.
And all the parking is perpendicular, so you could go either way. Way feels better. This is also good for circulation pattern, for walkers and whatever. The grades are, even though there's a large grade change between here and there, It's not over like 7%, which is basically a handicap ramp type slope. And so this parking lot is existing and it's a bit lower. There's an exit here to that parking lot, which can come out to the street for walking purposes. There's an outdoor space here, which you could connect, to anything else. And we preserved this space here, which I did mention was where we're going to put our stormwater, but that'll all be below grade. So the surface is still available for outdoor recreation, outdoor activities, gathering space. And it's a fairly nice location because it's higher up and it kind of looks over towards the mountains and things. So I think that's going to be a very nice space that we can turn into a outdoor gathering area.
Any plan to have provisions for the UCAT stop there at all? The
bus stop?
buses?
Yeah.
Well, that's what this turnaround is for. I don't know how you convince a bus to come here, but, I assume your community has senior buses as well, or more dedicated than the bus routes, but that's,
Does
where
UCAT
we
go
go.
into Colonial Manor? Do they not? They go in there, they stop out on Flatbush, they pick up there, they don't go into the facility. The paratransit must go in. I imagine the smaller paratransit does.
They do, the small.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about exiting out Penn Court onto Flatbush there. That, I'm a little concerned with that just because of sight distance. And vehicles coming down Flatbush. I don't know that that's the safest exit point. So I might, think about, I'll give it some thought to just encouraging, the traffic to go through and coming out where they've got a much better line of sight to see oncoming traffic.
well, if that's the case and you prefer to have a one-way traffic pattern.
Yeah, I want to look
That could
look
do
at
it.
it.
We could do
look at it,
that.
yeah.
We did want it to be two-way.
Clarification, entrance through Flatbush and exit through.
Colonial Drive.
Which would make all the traffic come around and that has better sight distance there.
Only drive would remain as Joint Road, but just this particular Pembroke would exit out.
So that could be
Yeah,
done.
it's something to think,
That's a
give
tight
some
one.
thought to and look at.
That's tough.
I don't know if the board is interested in going to the site, doing a site visit. And that would be an issue that we can stand there and look at it. You'd have a better sense of what it would be like. It might be a good idea to try and set up a planning board site visit.
It might also help us with topography of that wall that's against Corner
I think so,
Gardens. I'm
yeah.
just trying to understand that.
So I agree. The roof line on the Flatbush side going up the hill, how will it be above the grade of the road or will it?
The overall building will be above, but it'll be about, 2 stories above the apex of the road up on Flatbush.
Okay.
Because when you're at the top corner, you're looking at the second floor window, you got 2 more floors.
Okay.
Yeah. You're not gonna be able to look down at the roof, but it doesn't appear that tall from here because you're basically looking at the top floors. Look out.
Waiver too, being that it's only 2 stories above Flatbush.
Yeah.
I know you did a massive model that you submitted. I'd like to see something that is more of a visual simulation that, particularly from the street vantage points going up Flatbush and down Flatbush, what it would be, what it would appear like in the context of the existing surroundings.
And then I don't even know what you can do to help soften the building from the 3 parcels that are along Flatbush there at the bottom. Has any thought gone into that? I know that it's not much, but these are 2.5 stories, you know,
I
that,
mean,
there's,
the.
no, I'm talking about these right here. these
Oh,
parcels.
the little houses?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, they're gonna be.
well, that's, I mean, has there any, given some thought to softening that side for those, you know what I'm talking about, those 3 parcels?
Yeah,
these
three
three
homes right here.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at that. We can take a look. Yeah, we can take a look. I mean, right now, it's a little bit complicated just because, we have this limited space that we can actually put the facility, so, but we can take a look to see how we can, mitigate that a little bit more.
I think landscaping is gonna be the key to that.
Maybe even in town, having a chat with them or something, I mean, just off to the side, I don't know, get some ideas.
Yeah, I was talking with Dan Biggs today, Weston and Sampson. He was telling me he's going to be doing your landscaping, that company will be doing your landscaping plans.
Yeah.
We've worked with Dan before.
Yeah. He's the regional manager in Albany, I'm the regional manager in Suffolk, so
Okay.
we're in the same company. But he's a very good landscape architect, so we're happy to have him on board.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we want to progress this property in the planning process, basically as quickly as we can. I think the site visit is an excellent idea, and, it'll give you a real flavor of what's being replaced and what's going to be there. You also mentioned the retaining wall. I said it was 15 feet. It is at this point, but it tapers down to 0 here and it tapers down to 0 here. So it kind of comes up and goes down. And we didn't make it straight because straight walls are kind of,
Ugly.
yeah. Okay.
Are you thinking just a flat surface, or are you thinking terraced?
We don't really have room for terrace. I would love to terrace it, but if you look, there's the corner of an existing building. Here's the sidewalk. There's some big trees along here. I'm trying to save as many as I could that would make sense. If I terrace it, I could do it here, but then I have to eat into some other trees. Here I can't terrace it. We did put a little staircase in here to make a connection. And, that's why it's shaped the way it is.
What kind of material are you thinking for your wall?
Well, right now I'm thinking about like MSC wall, which would be a mechanically stabilized earth block walls, which comes in colors, it comes in textures. They have a slight step to them, like they step back about an inch every 6 inches. So they're battered a bit. They have a top cap. We have a guide rail along here so that cars don't fall off, and we have to include a fence so that nobody falls off.
Would the wall extend higher than the surface of the parking? Is that your intent?
No,
Like type of knee wall at the top, or the walls would be flush and then you'd have a.
I think when you put the knee wall, the wall gets to be even bigger looking than it does. So I'd like to keep it as low as possible.
Okay, I understand.
And then a visual, I wouldn't want a fence that you can't see through because that becomes another wall. So a fence that would be maybe a picket fence or some kind of a fence that would be attractive.
The only reason I ask is
have
that when you have headlights pulling in from a higher elevation, I don't know how that would play into the residential buildings.
In some areas, we may have to put something opaque because of that. The other areas where the headlights would be over top of the building, no. So we really have to do a little study of that.
Okay.
But I wouldn't want to make the wall higher. If anything, I would just make the fence opaque in certain areas, rather than raise the wall. And the wall would be a concrete wall, concrete blocks. They have very fancy shapes and some look like rock and some, we'll have to pick what type it would be. But it should be fairly attractive, especially not being straight. Straight just looks too mechanical for this area.
And building material?
Building material, ground floor level, right now we are proposing brick. Above that, I don't think we've come to a complete determination yet of what the exact stock materials would be, but you know, we can update you as we go along.
Just the form-based code does have certain limitations, so just pay attention.
Right. One thing I do want to mention is we're here tonight for this introduction. And we were thinking about our next step is to go through the secret process and begin the secret process. And probably the planning board would be the lead agency. And so I don't know if it's appropriate if you could declare an intent to be lead agency. We could probably file an application by the end of the week. Then that application could be circulated to the involved agencies and whatever. I don't know if you do it that way, or the planning board has to see the application before.
It would be that before, yeah, that would have to be submitted first.
So that means we can't, the earliest we could get intent to be lead agency would be
the November meeting.
November, and then it's 30-day waiting period for a response to see who else.
Right, I mean, but just like we had with the one just before, we have everything pretty much ready to go, so it's, the packages are ready to go, and most everything is circulated electronically these days, so it kicks, you know, that time frame is pretty much a very quick.
But does that throw you into 2 meetings? Because usually the meetings are on the same day of the month, and depending on the calendar, you end up.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the
Whether
calendar,
30 days
I don't
exists
know.
between the 2 meetings.
Yeah. I mean, that does not necessarily mean that the review cannot progress, though, during, you know, that time period, it just doesn't stay still. You know, you still work, we can still work with different things, we can, you know, the meeting, a planning board meeting can still take place, even though they might not be able to declare themselves lead agency at that point in time. You can still have a meeting to discuss the, you know, the project and, you know, what updates and site plan aspects, that can still happen. I would not let that move.
So the only thing then we could accomplish maybe tonight would be to determine, is there anything major that you see that will require the Part 3 study in addition to obviously storm drainage? You know, are there any other long lead item studies that you're going to think you would need that we could get started on?
The only thing, I mean, obviously, I think visuals are a critical component. I think I'd also really like to take a hard look at that access on Flatbush there and look at site distances and,
That would be traffic, right? That'd be a traffic zone.
I don't know if it's gonna, it would be a full-blown traffic study, but certainly a traffic impact analysis and the circulation analysis, I think is would be important.
Well, if it is a full traffic study, we have to do our counts. We have, you know, that's a long lead item to produce a full-blown traffic study. What you're talking about is it's not as full. If we don't need the
Yeah, I mean,
counts, then we.
I'm not so concerned about the numbers. Like, I mean, I don't know. I'm just more really concerned about the safety aspect of using that. That's my.
No, that's fine.
concern. I don't know if the rest of the board feels. Certainly feel free to chime in, but I think the population that we're talking about, I'm not seeing, you know, a lot of traffic getting generated.
I think we can get an analysis for you.
Yeah.
Do that.
I think visuals are very important, yeah.
You're gonna look at Flatbush, you're gonna look at, up above, coming down Flatbush, lower Flatbush,
Well, I think-
Colonial Gardens, looking up at the wall of the building.
So I think the board tonight should tell them where, yeah, that's right. The board tonight should say, where do you want to see those visuals
from? What points of interest are you looking for? So you're saying one from the Colonial?
Yeah, I think if you're in the Colonial Complex looking up at it, I think if you're on Flatbush, generally around St. Mary's Cemetery, heading up where the entrance is, what does it look like? And then I think also when you're up
At the top of Flatbush?
the top of Flatbush, like how big is the building like that? As the road's going down, what are we looking at? I mean, you basically have three sides of the building. Flatbush side, the other side, Colonial Gardens, and then on the other side, you said there's woods, right? It's been a while since I've been back in there. I don't know what's on the, where the exit is to the.
Woods in. Here is woods, over here is a school. And so that's.
I don't know if you need visuals on Colonial Drive. I haven't been back there, so.
Well, all right, so I think maybe the site visit would probably be a good point where you'd be able to confirm, I think we want one coming down Flatbush, you want one as you see it from Flatbush down below, and then from Colonial. So you want those 3 points. You might do a site visit, and I think with the site visit, I'd also extend the invitation if they can make it. I would say the city engineer, we'd invite them, we'd invite our DPW, we'd invite our water department, our building departments, at a minimum. Those are typically the ones we ask to join us, as well as our own council liaison, but the older person that represents this board would be invited as well.
And you'll coordinate that?
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Okay, whenever you are ready.
Yeah.
We'll be available.
I'd like to do it this week. It's nice weather. I don't think I can pull that one off.
So, are there any other questions at this point?
Is there anything else that any board member feels is important for, for the seeker process that they should start looking at and evaluating?
I guess, for tonight.
Right.
The only thing that I would add, and our architects and our attorney did a great job describing the project, but I know Geralda and I are sitting here and we're jumping up and down because this is a transformative project for the housing authority. It really addresses 3 major projects that need renovation, that the state needs to do something with, that we can service the residents that are out there much better than they're being serviced now by the housing they're living in. And we can also provide additional housing. And so that the board understands that part of the funding that we get from the state does projections for a 30-year going forward look, so that there's funds that get deposited for future improvements, reserve replacements that are not available to the housing authority now. So this is not just, okay, we're going to go in, we're going to fix it and set. It's a long-term plan to really, as I said, transform the state. Had the state head of architecture come down, they walked the site with us, and they're really very supportive of the project. So I just wanted to convey that to the board.
And I'm happy to hear that the displaced residents will still be able to live in Kingston. It's not going to be a situation where they're going to be like, okay, you got to go to Allenville, you got to, it's going to be,
right.
You have a plan in place to put them down in Roundout Gardens. And I mean, that's to actually, they'll have first dibs to go back, so that's, I applaud you for that.
I would just say, if you could get us just a reminder, just the details on the mechanicals and what's going on the roof, because that's going to affect your vision.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have a couple of questions, and just so we can start setting up the site visit, I'm going to ask for, who, you to send me, I don't know, who do you want to be your point person for the planning board to act as the point person? Do you want that to be? It's you? Okay, all right. So, okay, just so I identify that, and then I'm going to need you all to put together a list of all the agencies that are involved or interested. So that, and get us, the agency name, contact person, mailing address, and email and phone number.
Sure.
Okay, so if you could start working on that, that would be terrific as well. And I will work through you to set, you want to send me a list of everybody on your team that you want invited to this site visit. If you get that to me soon, then I'll pull that in with my list, and then we'll get a poll going out and try and get something together. Okay?
We'll do that.
Thank
We'll
you,
work on
folks.
that rooftop terrace thing.
I mean, this isn't something that has to be tabled because it was a discussion, right?
Right,
Yeah,
it's
so,
simply discussion.
but we look forward to meeting with you, as you know, over the next several months, few months, and see how this develops.
Thank you for your time.
No,
Thank you
appreciate it.
everyone for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you.
folks. You have any other business before the board?
I do.
Okay, anybody else have any, for the board, have any business before the board?
We want to also kind of get in your schedule in the next few weeks. Let me know if there's today's days between that time, so I can start in point.
Or no business.
Pretty much know what's your schedule.
And you're about to next weekend, stay like right?
So it's to dark, great. We have to be super early.
Robert Jacobs with a motion to adjourn. Second by Chuck Palaco, all in favor? Aye, opposed? Carried. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. No, this is it's very